So Perplexity is an incredibly powerful AI tool, but most people have no idea how to get the best results out of it. With just a little bit of tweaking, you can get 10 times better results in just a fraction of the time. So in this video, I'm going to share 7 easy changes that you can make to the way that you use Perplexity to unlock its full potential. I'm going to assume that you already know the basics of how to use Perplexity. If you don't though, check out this video right here that I made recently. That will get you started with Perplexity. But as long as you know the basics, stick with me here and we'll dive into some of the more advanced features. And the first one I want to show you is search operators. Now, these narrow down your results to get way more specific answers. So think of it this way. When you run a search on Perplexity, it is going to search the entire internet to try to find the answer to your question. And admittedly, it does a really good job of that. But you are going to get much better results if you already know which section of the internet your answer is in and you want it to only search that section. And so that is what we're able to do with search operators. For example, let's say you're a small business and you do all of your bookkeeping inside of QuickBooks, but you suddenly have forgotten how to actually categorize transactions. You could come over to Perplexity and just ask it, how do I categorize transactions in QuickBooks? And it's going to search the entire internet to get you an answer. We have it searching QuickBooks' own website here. It's looking at YouTube videos. It's looking at third-party websites. It's looking at Reddit even, and it's going to give you an answer. But let's say you want to make sure you get the most accurate answer possible directly from QuickBooks' own website. In order to do that, all you have to do is copy down the URL for the website, which is right here. Then come back over to Perplexity, and up here, go ahead and start a new search. And I'm going to type in my question, followed by the word site, colon, and then paste in the URL to the website that I want to limit Perplexity to. And now by submitting this, Perplexity is only going to search this website. You can see right here, it's looking at all these sources, and all of the sources are directly on QuickBooks.com. So now I am making sure that the answer that I get is directly from the QuickBooks website. Another way you can use search operators is with time periods. So let's say you wanted to limit the results to only articles that were published after a certain date or even before a certain date. So for instance, I'm going to ask it, how is ChatGPT's image generation model? Now, ChatGPT just came out with a new image generation model in the past month, so I don't want to look at any articles that came out before that. So I'm going to type in here after colon and then 2025 12/1, which means that I'm only looking at articles that were published after December 1st, 2025. And by submitting that, you'll notice that here it says searching recent information on ChatGPT's image generation model since December 2025. There are several other search operators that are available inside of Perplexity as well. So you can also limit by file type or in URL. You can also do time periods such as last day, past week, past month, or past year. So these really work well if you want to get hyper specific about where you are doing your research and during what time periods. Once you've dialed in your search, you want to make sure your actual prompting is efficient as well. So if you find yourself repeating the same instructions over and over and over again, you need to start using slash commands. These are built-in shortcuts that let you trigger specific models or actions instantly without typing out a full sentence. So anytime you're here inside the query box and you type in /, you'll see the shortcuts menu come up. So for instance, I have one saved right here that populates this prompt, which is take this rough idea or sentence and develop it into a compelling paragraph or argument. So if I click on it, that prompt will then appear there, and I can type in my rough sentence like this one, click on submit. And so here you can see the entire prompt is put into the query, and then this is a sentence that I wanted to polish and expand on, and then here are the results. So setting up any of these slash commands is super easy. Just come over to the text box and go ahead and type in /, and the shortcuts menu will come back up, and you can click right here where it says create a shortcut. Now go ahead and give it a name. So I'm going to call this one QuickBooks, and then go ahead and type in some instructions. And again, these are the instructions that will automatically populate into the query box after you initiate this shortcut. So here I'm just asking it to take a look at this screenshot and help me categorize all the transactions in it. Now under advanced, you can actually choose which mode you want it to use, which model, and which sources you want it to be able to search. We're going to talk more about these features later, but just know that these are in here so you can specify exactly which model you want it to use when it is using this shortcut. Then go ahead and click on save. And then to initiate that shortcut, again, inside the box, just click on /, click on your new shortcut. In this case, I would also upload a screenshot and click on submit. And that way I don't have to type out that entire prompt every single time. Now, the only limitation of this is that unfortunately, these / commands are not yet available on the iOS app. Now that you understand how shortcuts work, you may be thinking to yourself, well, this is going to make my life so much easier because now I can set up a shortcut for things that I do every single day or every single week, such as maybe you do a certain type of research every day, like you wanted to search Twitter for certain posts. You can go ahead and create one of these, and then every single day, just come in here, type in /, click on your shortcut and run it. But this would be incredibly inefficient if you have the Pro plan. If you have the paid version of Perplexity, you can actually set up recurring tasks just like this one that are done automatically for you every single day on autopilot. So there's a few ways to set up these recurring tasks. First way is just to run your query just like I did right here, and then click on these 3 dots on the top right and click on create task. You'll then see your query right here in the instructions box. If you want, you can assign it to a space, which we'll talk about later, but more importantly, you can schedule it out. You can choose how often this runs. So I want this to be run daily, and what time you want it to be run. So I want this to run at 6 a.m. so that when I wake up, I can actually see the results. You can choose when this task expires, in other words, when it will stop running every single day, and then how you want to be notified. Personally, I don't like getting the emails, but I like the mobile and in-app notifications. You can also choose which model you want it to use, or the sources, or the mode, just like before. Then go ahead and click on save. And now every day at 6 a.m., this will automatically run, and I'll get a notification on my phone when it's finished to see those results every day for me automatically. Now, another way to set these up is you just come into a new chat and say to it, create a recurring task for me that runs at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time every single day for this prompt. Type in this in the prompt, go ahead and submit it. And here you can see the exact same box we looked at before, where it's actually creating the task for you. You can click on create task to actually finish it, but I'm not going to do that because then I'll have the same task twice. To see all your tasks, you can click on the left here where it has your little avatar, your account. Go ahead and click on tasks, and you can see all your tasks in here. You can click on any of them, deactivate them, delete them, or edit and save any changes. And again, these are only available on the paid version of Perplexity. And if you have a Pro plan, which is their cheapest paid plan, you are limited to 10 recurring tasks. Now, tasks and shortcuts are my favorite way to use Perplexity just because they are so efficient. However, they are slightly limited because even though you can put in text instructions, you cannot upload persistent documents into either of those. And that's where spaces come in. So spaces are a way to organize different areas of your life inside of Perplexity. So if we open up this one right here that I called company data, you'll notice that when I open up the context settings, you can put in instructions the same way that you can put in instructions into tasks or into shortcuts. But in addition to that, you can also upload files and add URLs. And then when you actually put in a query inside of this space, it's going to be able to draw from this knowledge. But what you can also do is click on this menu item right here. And this will allow you to choose which sources Perplexity actually looks at when it's answering your query. Now, by default, web is always toggled on, but you could also toggle on social, which will search things like X and Reddit, finance, which will search SEC filings or even academic, as well as a bunch of third-party connectors. However, if you turn all of them off, then the only thing this is going to be able to search are your uploaded files and links, and that's it. So for example, if I ask it something incredibly vague like, what's the limit on emails? You'll notice here that the only source it looked at was one of the files that I uploaded, nowhere else. And then here it actually gave me the answer according to that document. So this is essentially a way to ground Perplexity in only the information that you want it to have. In addition to that, anytime you put a query into this space, you'll notice that the thread appears down here, so you can stay very organized and have all of your threads for this space in one place. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, if you're getting some helpful tips out of it, all I ask is that you give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm releasing tutorials like this all the time about the latest AI tools, so if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you definitely subscribe. Now, the free version of Perplexity is going to be more than enough for most people, but one of the best parts about having a pro account is that you can actually switch which model is being used for your query. To do that, you just come over to Perplexity and click on this button right here, and you'll actually be able to switch to whichever AI model you want to use. The key with this is knowing which model is best for the specific job that you're doing. And the best way to do that is to type in the same prompt over and over again and just switch which model you're actually querying with and see which results you like the best. Personally, because I mostly use Perplexity for research, I find that just leaving it on best gives me the best results. However, for things like writing, I think Claude Sonnet is the best, Gemini is the best for multimodal stuff, and GPT for logic. If you are on the free plan, sadly, you're not going to be able to change which model you use. However, if you mainly use this as a research assistant, then honestly, you're going to get incredible results anyway with the default settings. In addition to that, it's important to know when you should use each of Perplexity's 3 different modes: search, research, and labs if you're on pro. 80% of the time though, you should probably just leave it on search. That's what you're going to be using for quick queries and fact finding. If you're on the paid plan, you'll get access to pro search. And if you're on the free plan, you're going to get a limited number of those pro searches every day. Basically, this just uses more sources when providing answers, so it's going to be more accurate and detailed. Research takes a fair bit longer than regular search, but you're going to get much more detailed reports that are more comprehensive. So for instance, here I asked regular search, what are the effects of AI data centers on the environment? And you can see it reviewed 20 different sources and then gave me this answer right here, which is just a few paragraphs long. And this just took a few seconds to get an answer. Over here, I asked the exact same question, but I turned on research. And instead of just completing one step where it looked at 20 different sources, it actually completed 5 different steps. So it broke down this assignment into different questions, and for each question, it did its own research looking at different sources. And based on compiling all of that research, it gave me a much more detailed, longer response to the same exact question. And this one took a few minutes as opposed to a few seconds. And the last one is Labs, which is an AI agent that can perform multi-step projects that can actually result in generative content such as documents, spreadsheets, charts, and even interactive apps. Honestly, there's so much to learn when it comes to Perplexity Labs that I'll be making an entire video about it really soon. So if that interests you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on it. But to give you a little bit of a preview, that app I showed you in the beginning that basically was an app where you can actually draw on the screen, that was made entirely with Perplexity Labs. And finally, to get the most out of Perplexity, make sure it's easily accessible no matter where you are. So first, make sure you download it onto your phone, then download it onto your PC or Mac. That will give you the ability to set up a keyboard shortcut that will automatically pull up Perplexity no matter where you are to be able to quickly access it. In addition to that, you can also set Perplexity as your default search engine on Chrome or any Chrome-based browser. To do that, click on the 3 dots on the top right, click on Settings, and then on the left, click where it says Search Engine. Now go ahead and click on this drop down right here, and then we'll scroll down and click on Add. For the name, go ahead and type in Perplexity. For the shortcut, you want to type in perplexity.ai/search. And then for the last box, you want to go ahead and type in this. I'll have all of this in the description down below so you can easily copy it and paste it in yourself, and then go ahead and click on Add. You'll then see it appear right here. Then click on these three dots and click Make Default. And now anytime you run a search using the bar up here, it's actually going to use Perplexity to give you your answer. All right, so those are 7 ways to get 10 times better results with Perplexity AI. Now, once you have all of your research from Perplexity, I like to organize it all by putting it into a notebook inside of Notebook LM. So if you want to learn more about how I use Notebook LM, check out this video right here, and I'll see you over there in just 1 second. Bye for now.